My name is Trent Pettis. I am a special agent with the Department of Veterans Affairs Law Enforcement Training Center, and currently I serve as a division chief for the academics division. In that capacity, we have oversight and training of the Department of Veterans Affairs, approximately 3,700 police officers nationwide. To start, it's important to realize that law enforcement has changed. It's evolved over time from the traditional role of officers going out and responding to a situation, a crime, a crisis, affecting an arrest, putting a person in jail, and moving on to the next call. Today we've learned to be intervention experts, or we're trying to be intervention experts, and we really focus on problem solving or community policing as opposed to simply locking somebody up or dealing with a criminal element. We are compliance-based today, meaning we are out there seeking to get compliance from the subject versus simply taking an action.
Demanding accountability and defending your rights against the police specifically, and the government generally, are difficult and dangerous tasks. Your right to watch the government and record what you see is a natural right that is protected by the Constitution, and it cannot be taken away by the government.
After my special report on Phoenix Cop Watch's experience at the VA hospital grounds in Boise, Idaho, I decided I needed to get some footage of the hospital in Spokane and do a local story on the VA hospital here. To gather my footage, I visited a couple of different times. The first, as you can see, was on a foggy night here in the inland northwest. For the second visit, I joined my friend and veteran Rockman Al. He had some business to attend to, so I thought this would be a perfect time to get some footage inside the gates. For this first visit, I was ill-prepared and had time constraints, so the main purpose was walking the perimeter and making sure there were no signs stating only veterans were welcome. I only have my action cam footage to show, but I saw no signs limiting access. Hey guys, give me a break. I said I was ill-prepared for this first visit. Funny thing is, websites for both locations actually welcome the public as visitors. I felt this was an important step, as Phoenix Cop Watch was told only veterans were welcome. As you'll soon see, when Rockman Al and I were detained, we were told the same thing. If you aren't aware, the Supreme Court says order followers are allowed to lie during the course of an investigation if it helps them gather evidence. And as we all know, anytime you're speaking to a thug enforcer, they're gathering evidence for any crime they can find against you. If seeing a senior veteran put in cuffs and detained, knowing that serious life-altering threats were made to coerce us to give in to the will of these ruling class thugs and their bosses, doesn't open your eyes, I don't know what will. I'll get into all of that a little bit later. For now, make sure you hit the like button and share this video with everyone you know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you know when I put up new videos. Also, don't forget to leave me a comment with your thoughts for the VA order following thugs before you go check out Rockman Al's video of his incident on his channel. As always, links to all my sources are in the description. Before I get into our detainment, I want to get into some recent history regarding the order followers at Mann-Grandstaff VA Hospital here in Spokane. After I made my initial post regarding the detainment of Rockman Al and I was sent a link via email from a local supporter. The link sent me to an article taken from the Tri-City Herald in the Tri-Cities area of Washington State. First, let me preface this whole backstory with this. Jeffrey Hayter has been the acting police chief of the VA until very recently. In fact, the new acting chief hasn't even had a chance to get his card updated to reflect he is no longer the deputy chief, as you can clearly see. I even found a newsletter from July through September of 2018 for the VA that had Chief Hayter making statements as the chief of the VA police force in Spokane. My point is, even though he is no longer the acting chief, his departure is so recent, I doubt any changes in attitude or protocol have changed. His way of doing things are more than likely still ruling the day at the VA. Now, let's get back to this article from 2005 in Benton County, Washington. VA Police Chief Hayter, then a deputy for the Benton County Sheriff's Office, was fired for having sex while on duty. This married father at the time admitted to having sex with a woman at her house at least 6 times while on duty. Attention was brought to his behavior because he wasn't showing up to back up other officers needing assistance at all or very late. After the investigation went public, 2 other women stepped forward claiming Hayter had sex with them on duty as well. His boss at the time, Benton County Sheriff Larry Taylor, said this of him after the investigation. He willfully deceived supervisors. That left the other officers in jeopardy in case they needed assistance, and he left society unprotected. It is utterly despicable and appalling. It is the most appalling thing I have seen any officer do in 25 years of law enforcement. He also stated it throws a black eye on law enforcement as a whole. Of course, Hayter used the union to fight for his job, which was officially terminated in 2006 in Benton County. Now fast forward to 2017 and change the location to the Spokane VA hospital. It just seems to me, if a sheriff is going to make a statement like I just read regarding an individual and their behavior, maybe this individual shouldn't be employed in the thug law enforcement sector anymore. Yet here I am discussing his actions as a chief of a whole department of order followers. The first article I came upon was from April of 2017 in the Spokesman Review. This article brings to light the thuggery and excessive use of force tactics used by all law enforcement, but in this case is highlighting the VA police in Spokane. According to the article, a veteran who was at the hospital for an appointment and was then waiting in the waiting room for his prescriptions to be filled was arrested with aggressive force, injuring his shoulder, his dog, and leaving the vet with a federal charge of disorderly conduct to fight in court. I bring this up because it's clear from my experience at the VA, if you are not doing things the way you are told or the way the order following thugs or administration staff envision you should be doing your activity, there's a good chance you will end up with a disorderly conduct charge yourself. The article states the vet had brought his service dog to the hospital on numerous occasions with no issue. However, on the day in question, this is what ensued and started the whole scene, according to the article. The encounter began earlier in the day after Ralph had completed an appointment and was waiting in the parking lot for his prescription to be filled. About the same time, VA Police Chief Jeffrey Hayter looked out and saw an unleashed dog jumping up on someone and barking, according to court records. In compliance with VA policy, Chief Hayter determined that the dog was not acting as a service animal. There were also several witnesses citing they thought the VA police sergeant who had made the arrest was very aggressive and applied too much force for the situation at hand. Much like the experience Rockman and I had, if you don't bow down to the Fourth Reich-like orders and tactics of this VA enforcement unit, you will find yourself in cuffs and under the threat of being thrown in a cage. This is a major problem, my friends. I was under the impression these military veterans made their sacrifices for our freedom, not oppression. Next, I came upon this story regarding the deaths of a former VA surgeon and VA counselor. The deaths happened in January of 2016, but in May of 2017, the Spokesman Review posted an article about a former VA police detective assigned to the case. Ken Collier was the detective assigned by the VA to handle the case. Keep in mind, since the deaths happened outside the VA grounds, it was local police doing the investigating, with Collier seemingly helping with what he could at the VA itself. In the article, Collier claims the 2 who had died had government-issued computers at the VA that had not been searched for evidence, and that he had heard whispers and rumors as well as anonymous contacts telling him the 2 deceased might have had a relationship. Collier claims nobody seemed to have an interest in seeing whether there was any evidence on the computers tying the 2 together. Instead, everyone handling the case wanted to handle them as 2 separate incidents. There's a lot of other very suspect evidence that was never looked into, and Collier says he was taken off the case by VA Chief Hayter. This is the statement he made in the article. I walked away from it because I was ordered to walk away from it, Collier said. Hayter told Collier he didn't think this is worth following up on. I was basically pulled off it and told I had other jobs to do. Collier also stated in the article he traveled to Arkansas during the summer of 2016 for a crime scene processing class, and when he returned, learned someone had broken into his desk and taken his investigation file on the 2 deaths. Believe me, guys, there's a lot more controversy surrounding this, and I'm sure other VAs. But for the sake of my story, I'm going to move on. I think you guys get the picture of leadership at this VA hospital among the police unit. Again, for the record, Hayter is no longer the acting chief here. That would now be Matthew Mulholland. As I stated earlier, he is so new as acting chief, He hasn't even had a chance to get his card updated from Deputy Chief. My belief after our treatment is things are still running the same as when Chief Hader ran the show. I'll get into that more later, after you see Rockman, Al, and I detained by these thug, misinformed, and freedom-hating enforcers of the VA hospital. As for the footage you'll be seeing, I know it's not the best. However, I was very aware that staff and or enforcers would cite HIPAA law as a reason we would not be able to record even though we were in the publicly accessible areas of the hospital, and these laws apply to staff, not the public. We never ventured out of the main hallway and entrances to the hospital. I even went out of my way not to show people in the hallway as much as I could. Here's what happened to a senior veteran of the Air Force and his friend accompanying him to the VA for some business. He was showing off the plaques and carvings to me in the main entrance, something you'd think the VA would be proud to have shown to the world. I guess they would rather put their aggressive thug status on display to show veterans who's really in charge.
Surveillance. That is good. Alright. Hey.
VA hospital.
He was checking out your camera there.
Yeah. I'm a veteran. I'm just going to walk around and do a veteran review, I guess.
Alright. Hey. There we go. That's the main lobby there. Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool
down
here.
here is the office. See where that sign is down there? That's the patient waiting area.
Oh, down there. Okay. It's kind of cool here.
Yeah, let's get some of this stuff. Some medals and stuff here. Okay, switch sides here so I can get this other one.
Okay. Knights of Columbus. There we go.
This guy sure is watching us down here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Here he comes.
We're in there a couple times, again, I'm 20 minutes away from the Boulder Trail.
Does he come down?
We went in there to tell someone.
Okay. It's kind of cool.
There you, sir.
Hey.
That's a great picture right there, isn't it?
Right? That is
Probably really wanted to take this guy's photo, I'm sure.
Right.
That's a big deal. Fancy cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, did you guys get clearance to record in here?
Huh?
Did you guys get clearance to record in here? I'm just checking because we have privacy of the patients that we want to.
Yeah,
I didn't see
we're
any
not in those
patients
areas
here.
right now.
Well, there's patients, and generally the police give that guidance, so I was just curious if you guys. had-
Well, it's a publicly accessible area of the hospital, right?
Yeah, we just try to maintain the privacy of our patients. That's all I'm asking.
No,
I'm
I
not trying to be.
understand. No, we didn't. No, we didn't get clearance. We just
Okay.
taking some pictures of the publicly accessible area. No, we're not trying to rain on anybody's parade as a patient or anything like that. So,
Fair enough. Okay.
yep.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm calling the police! Police!
I think I'm gonna get some plaques and stuff in the lobby.
Yeah.
It's right down this way.
That sounds
All
good.
the way up and down the side, there's still things to look at.
Right. Ooh, that's a cool.
Old picture, looks like when it was 1975. Here we've got the Coast Guard, Air Force.
Is that cool?
Various spots. Somebody's getting patted on the back here.
Excuse me.
Is this spot here in Spokane? Is that in Spokane? For some reason it seems familiar. That's over by Cheney. I've never. Wait a minute.
It might be. There is one like that over there. That might be over on the Lookout Pass up by that area. 'Cause there's one that comes down in the same areas over there. I don't know. That's a good question. There's a lot of those. That's cool, man. Hey, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, it was a.
Hey guys.
Hey,
How are you? Asking you not to videotape me, please.
I always document public officials.
Can you take the camera off me?
well, we're in
Step in
a.
front of
Do
the
you guys
camera.
have ID?
You step in front of the camera.
I'm stepping away. Do you have ID on you?
Why would I
Why
need
would we
ID?
need ID?
Because you're in a federal building.
You guys do have to
You guys have to
yourself.
identify yourselves inside federal
You guys,
property.
are you a
Have we
veterans?
broken any laws?
We've got calls, so we're investigating the calls. We
Yeah,
want to know
okay.
who's on our property
What crime?
videotaping.
What crime was?
Well, first off, are you guys veterans?
How does that?
I don't want to answer
Isn't
any
this open
questions
to
at
the?
this point.
This is
No,
open.
no, it's not. Unfortunately, it's
This is
Well,
for veterans.
was there any signs posted when we came on the property? Didn't I didn't see any signs posted when we came onto the property that we needed to be veterans or anything like that.
This is like the VA sign in the.
I didn't see anything saying it wasn't open to the public, is what I'm
No, it's
saying.
not. If you're not here, you can be
Well, can you
trusted.
show me where it says that? Where it says that it's not open to the public?
You know what? I've told you.
Whoa, hey,
Wait a minute. What's this,
sir,
Yep.
You're being detained. Turn
Now
around.
wait a minute.
listen, hey, I'm not, can we just go on and have a
No,
conversation?
no. You're gonna stand.
I'm having a conversation.
All right.
I've already talked a lot for this video, and thank you for your patience with me. I just feel like more needed to be said to get an understanding of the level of tyrants that seem to be employed by the VA police force. After being detained, we were told by more than one officer we had to be veterans to be inside the fence of the grounds. I called their bluff on that one by stating I had footage of a public bus leaving the parking lot after dropping off and picking up passengers. I mean, how could the bus driver know who to let off the bus if this area was restricted to only veterans? These thugs used threats and plenty of coercion tactics with us, and in the end had nothing to do but cite us with courtesy warnings and send us on our way. Other than the Nancy boy who called the cops on us even though we weren't hurting anyone else or their property or defrauding anyone, we were treated kind and well by the staff. Of course, that does not include every one of the order followers in the thug police force for this VA hospital. I will say, the new chief was sort of reasonable with us, but only after he realized we were detained for an unlawful reason of not showing ID on federal property. Guys, this is not true. While I could find some mentions of people entering the property being subject to search of their persons and bags, I could see nowhere having ID to be on property was required. In fact, I know from previous federal courthouses I've visited, this is not true. I hope you got something out of this video, my friends. I put a lot of effort into it because I think it's wrong how our veterans are treated once they are done serving the banksters of the Federal Reserve and the military-industrial complex. I don't agree with our wars and military actions on foreign soil, but I also understand almost all of our servicemen think they are doing what they are told because it's preserving our freedoms back home and advancing the cause of freedom and liberty around the globe. Unfortunately, we have all been duped into thinking we are free and we are fighting to spread that freedom abroad or keep us safe and preserve it at home. If you guys enjoy my work and this channel and want to show your support, Links to all questionable authority platforms are in the description. You can also pick your favorite design from the merchandise store to help spread the message of freedom from the oppressors and government everywhere. Show everyone you know that you stand against tyranny with the hat, shirt, or hoodie of your choice. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button and share it with everyone you know. Find us on Twitter as well as censorship-free platforms like BitChute and Steemit or DTube. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to smile at someone you don't know every day.